And it is time once again for the worst hour, 90 minutes, 120 minutes. Who knows? But we're still the worst. That's what we bank on. The worst podcast in all of sports podcasting. We're number one. Actually, if we're the worst, does that make us number two? I don't know. It's like a badge of honor. We wear it with pride. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and, birds, dogs, pets, aliens, whoever might be listening. It is time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. After a brief hiatus, drowning my sorrows in Rehoboth, Delaware, I'm back. It just didn't work for me with the vacation and dealing with all of this. So, well, I put vacation in air quotes because it really wasn't a vacation. But I'm back in the driver's seat, joined as always by producer extraordinaire and my trusty partner in all crimes podcasting. Instead, how goes it, sir?
It's going good. It's going good. This is kind of the lull of the sports year for the vast majority of us. But, it's nice to get a little reset, and I can really focus on, some of my other loves, especially in the sporting world. Looking forward to the season starting. I know once we hit August, then all of a sudden the football blood really gets moving. So, yeah.
You got MMA.
That's been kind of dominating my world the past few weeks. We got fights like 3 times a week, and with PFL and Bellator coming along too. So yeah, I'm pretty knee deep in that. So pardon me if I may not have too much insight tonight, unless someone threw a jab in the US Canada game, considering not much happened there anyway. So
they didn't throw a jab, but they definitely tried to break some legs.
Yeah, that's true.
And you got track and field, the Olympics coming up, my man.
You know what though? This is where I need British Will, because we stole a couple of I think the World Championships a couple of years ago. British Will and I stole one of the shows. But I don't know. I am silently considering, because of what's going on with the American sprinters and the women, I'm strongly considering not watching. I do not support what they're doing to that poor young woman. I think it's Sha'Carri Richardson. It's an absolute shame. And I'm sure you guys all know I may not follow women's soccer very closely, but women's track is a big love of mine, and it's a real sad situation that it looks like they're not going to rectify it in time, and they're going to, and granted, I will say this is the last thing I'm gonna say about this. She has to take at least 50% of the blame here. She does. She was well aware of the consequences of her actions prior to the choices that she made. That being said, it's the gray area that we're dealing with when it comes to THC and marijuana right now, especially when it comes to the federal laws being scrutinized in lots of states and the medical use and everything like that. There are various exemptions.
This is not and that's the thing. We got to understand it. But this isn't a legal thing. This isn't
law. But that's what I'm getting at here. That's what I'm getting at. But also though, see, the bigger issue here with this is you have to ask yourself, and anybody who follows an endurance and performance and explosive sport like track and field, cycling, things like that, has to know that the use of PEDs is beyond rampant in these sports. So you have someone who's burst onto the scene, who's running very unprecedented times, especially someone as young as she is, without the pedigree of like a Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, who's running 10.6, 10.7s consistently in track, who is it's not out of the realm of possibility that she may have also been choosing to use this substance as a way to mask another agent, which is entirely possible. And we've all seen documentaries on multiple occasions of organizations like USADA. Those organizations are not 100% above board either. So let's not think that all those groups are not in some cahoots together. So I'm just saying this is going to get a lot uglier before it gets prettier. But that's another show. I'll hook up with Will and we'll gab about that another time.
So we're also joined tonight by a man who looks like he is enjoying his Monday. Coach G How goes it in the Big Easy?
What's going on, gentlemen? Yeah, it's a lot different scene. Before you saw like a pink wall in my place, and here it is now. I'm outside. I'm at a bar. So life is good right now. The move from Tampa down here, it was unbelievable. Life is good right now. Life is good. So kind of piggyback with Stead. Like I'm not saying maybe Mr. Coach G has partaken that stuff before, and if that is a enhancer, it actually slows people down. It's all about pain. It's all about that type of stuff. So for her to be an athlete, to deal with what she's got to do, that is a PED. These people maybe have never partook in that kind of stuff. So laws are hopefully with this stuff and how it is in society right now. Hopefully these kind of policies will change. And she's based on a huge talent going to the Olympics. But like you said, she kind of knew beforehand what was going on, that, that's part of the USA policy that you can't smoke marijuana and blah, blah, blah. So it's half her fault. Also, this is the part where we need to evolve our policies and stuff like that. So, but track and field is my bread and butter, man. I was a track coach for several years, and I absolutely love the mentality of the sprinters and the hard work it truly does take to get to that level. And I walked my last season as a track coach. I walked out a state champion coach. And I would never forget that moment when my number one hurdler passed. We were waiting for the whole big screen, and all of a sudden her name popped up. I go, yep, drop the head. I'm gone. The athletes to actually do track and field, that's on another level. It's a mentality, another level. And for her to be what happens with her, nah. So, but yeah, life is good right now in New Orleans, and it's only been here for 48 hours, and here we go. Start drinking already. It's Margarita Monday, so we'll see what happens.
She's stunning too. I'm sorry. She is stunning.
She's beautiful.
She is costing herself. She just cost herself millions because she's stunning. Absolutely stunning.
I don't think that she, at the end of the day, with given her talent, this is going to keep her in the news. Remember when I think that we're going to remember her.
I hope so. But you know what? It wasn't long ago where this reeks of Lolo Jones in a different category. But I'm hoping that she doesn't break a leg and end up being unable to compete, because you never know with this. And geez, you could explode an Achilles in track, and that's the end. So it's tough, and also I'm my spouse, the woman I'm married to, was a very, very, very high level track athlete. So, I was
gonna throw this out there real quick. We got Michael Phelps. We have a white guy, and here it is. We have a race kind of thing. So
he wasn't in competition though. She was in a competitive cycle, and that was the difference.
The bigger problem is with her.
Yeah, but still, he was a.
Michael Phelps was also suspended. Mm-hmm. But luckily, his offense occurred when nobody cared about. So people care about swimming once a year, once every 4 years. That's when they care about swimming. If she had done this just a year ago, if it had just happened a year ago, because 5 months ago. Think about it. Yeah, her suspension is going to be over before the Olympics are even done. Her suspension is going to be over. I'm not defending. But I also think though but we all know that the racist history of marijuana laws in the United States are nothing that are not hidden. We're pretty well aware of that. But that's why I said I lay 50% of the blame still at her feet though, because she was well aware of these rules. And to think though. I was talking to my wife about this. We were just going, her Instagram following, had she simply competed, would have been she's a charismatic young woman. She's very beautiful. She's very athletic. All the inspirational quotes she could throw up on her page. She could get sponsors out the butt, have 1 million followers, and be set. These athletes don't need the Olympics anymore. Sorry, in a sense that they have to keep competing in order to gain money. They don't need to do that anymore. So it's you just hope that she can bounce back from this, because sadly, I think track is much bigger than swimming, but also people don't care about track as much as they do as well.
She'll be on the next season of Dancing with the Stars, and right with the one.
Yes, and she'll be right there with the girl who was fighting MMA, who now is a bare knuckle fighter and has an OnlyFans page now. So
there you go. Amongst the other ones, Byron Robb, how goes it, sir?
It's going good. Byron actually has a first friendly.
Sporting a immaculate Ipswich Town jersey today.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's supporting the Tractor Boys.
Yeah, no, I got this from one of those like mystery kits, I think from away days.
Mhm.
And it's fantastic. I recommend it to anybody. I know they're not a sponsor of us yet, but I love their service. Definitely get the mystery kit. You'll be surprised at what you find. And you might find another club that you like. And actually it's one of my favorite jerseys because I love the color blue. And it's Adidas and it fits really well.
We will definitely look into that. And last but not least, here to join us and talk about what has been yet another week in the ongoing soap opera that is Real Madrid. And also to celebrate the ongoing celebration of the European Championships. Leo, how goes it, my friend?
I'm not so bad, you guys. Thanks for having me. We were celebrating the Italy's win for like the entire first half of the week. Barely did my job.
Hey, is Vince back yet? I heard he was in Italy.
Yeah, he was actually in there, like in our family's hometown for the game. Absolutely
nice.
Those people are crazy. They're drinking all day regardless. But yes, a lot of fun news going on in Madrid.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what is Florentino Perez going to do for his next trick? First, he gave us the Super League, and he wouldn't shut up about it. Then, El Confidencial, a Spanish newspaper, one can imagine that they have some links to Catalonia, simply because I don't remember any of like the true Madrid press being willing to do something like this. Although, given the state of the team and the state of the Super League, Perez can't be the most popular person even amongst the Madridistas. Releases a series of audio recordings taken of Florentino Perez between 2006 and 2012, where, among other great things, I'm just going to give you the highlights of this.
Yes, please.
He refers to Ronaldo as an idiot and a sick man. The quote is, "This guy, Ronaldo, is an idiot, a sick man. You think this guy is normal. He's not normal. Otherwise, he wouldn't do all the things that he does. The last foolish thing he did, everyone around the world saw it." He said that Mourinho doesn't see the reality and they would both. He said that Mourinho was also abnormal because they were concerned with money. He said that Iker Casillas is not a Real Madrid goalkeeper, and he was their biggest mistake. Called Raul a fraud. Said Bentente Del Bosque doesn't know how to coach, and he doesn't know anything about tactics. Discussed how Jose Mourinho may or may not have gotten Mesut Ozil to break up with his girlfriend by saying that she had slept with the entire Inter Milan team.
I really hope you're joking around with all of this. Some of this I've heard. All of that. The guy's insane.
It's all true. He said it all of it. I mean, the dude
called Goody a bastard and said that Figo was one of the worst fuck-ups in the locker room and called him a son of a bitch. And said that one of their worst mistakes was outside of Iker Casillas was allowing Juan Mata to leave. No, Pat, you can't make this stuff up. He really said all of this stuff, and there are recordings of it.
Yeah, I heard that. The first thing I thought was, I was like, all right, Leo's got to come on at some point soon.
Leo, to quote the great Vince Lombardi, what the hell is going on out there?
One of the funniest parts about this to me is that this has been like accumulated over 6 years and then sat on for another 9. So someone waited 9 years since the last recording to drop a bomb just to make him look hilarious. And that's been the attitude. I read a bunch, obviously texted a couple people. Everyone thinks it's hilarious that's like the most important part. Even the people who are like diehard Real Madrid fans living in the city, like they think it's hilarious. And his insults are hilarious too. Uh, the way that he takes shots at some of like the greatest players of all time, and arguably the reason that his career has been a success, right? Call Cristiano Ronaldo insane. What's that going to do? Like, he probably is insane. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten to the level that he ever was. The one with Ozil's girlfriend is my favorite. I was laughing so hard when I saw that one. I think that the Spanish news, after everything with the Super League, like they are tired of him in the same way that Redskins or Washington football fans are tired of Dan Snyder. Like, say some bad things about Schneider, maybe we'll get him out of here. It's just funny. I read a couple more articles to see like if it would have any effect on this summer and the transfer windows, and everyone was laughing and basically said no. It would not deter a player like Mbappe from coming to play for Real Madrid because the owner said some funny things probably after a loss in 2012.
He's also 75 right now, so or 74. So I guess that.
But I guess Leo and the rest of y'all, I mean, we can all collectively laugh at the insanity
Yeah.
of a guy like this basically throwing everyone around him under the bus, right?
Didn't,
But go ahead, Leo.
didn't Casillas win a World Cup?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Couple of La Ligas and whatnot. Yeah,
he
he's
won
a pretty damn good goalie.
Yeah, he won a couple of La Ligas, a World Cup. I'm pretty sure he won a Champions League in there someplace. A couple of league titles. So if that's your biggest mistake, for real, and the guys that he's throwing under the bus: Raul, Luis Figo, Iker Casillas, Cristiano Ronaldo. Widely among the most respected players of their generation. I don't think anybody is going. When I think of Iker Casillas, I'm never going to think of Florentino Perez said that he was Real Madrid's biggest mistake. More to the point, I'm going to think of him at the end of the Euro Championships when he's trying to get the ref to blow the game out of respect for Italy. And like, look, the game is over. Just blow the whistle. Let us celebrate. Put them out of their misery. This is done. Like, he was the captain of Spain. He was a great ambassador for the Spanish team. He had a lot of respect for his opponents, and he was well respected. Meanwhile, he's being made fun of by probably one of only 3 people in the world who still thinks that the European Super League is viable. But Leo, I think you touched on it, and I want to get is this going to have absolutely any effect on Perez's position at Real Madrid, or is this just another one of those, he said it, we're going to laugh. We already think he's kind of foolish based on this last year. And as you said, the attacks, while personal, aren't the type that you could would they deter Mbappe from taking that money and saying, I'm going to go and play in the all whites of Real Madrid? Would this deter anybody who wants to play for Real Madrid from going to the Bernabeu?
I don't think so. That's a good point. I don't think that it will have an effect on, first of all, the Perez's career, because most people already laugh at him. And second of all, is anyone going to think twice about playing for Madrid? Probably not. They have enough history, enough money. Honestly, like, even though Madrid has had less than perfect seasons for the last couple of years. Like all of the young kids in Spain still dream about wearing a white jersey. And I think that that will continue at least in the near future.
It is odd though that this comes out almost exactly 3 months after he gets named to his another term for 4 more years. Could there be any sense that there might have been an attempt to get a recall vote? Is this like, oh well, this is the Barcelona press just trying to throw jabs and embarrass Real Madrid? What is the sense of where this came from in the first place? Because as you said, somebody clearly sat on this for, at the latest 9 years. In some cases, you're sitting on these things. These are 15-year-old recordings that we've been sitting on. Why? If you had this, why now?
Serious patience. I think, I'm sure that people did not want him to get re-signed. It was probably because of the Super League. That's what most people would think first. But also post Euro Cup, post Copas, like in this early, we don't know who's playing where type window, like it's probably the perfect time to drop a media bomb. Like definitely headlines that most of the world read, and it didn't get clouded out by anything that happened 2 weeks ago or anything,
Well, the crazy thing about it too, I noticed, was it wasn't necessarily like, at least from the publications I follow, it was leaked. They would give you a snippet of what was said, and the next day you'd read something else. The next day, because at first I just dismissed it, and then I said, okay, it's like 4 days in a row I'm seeing some update about something, and that's when I saw what you were talking about, how these were recorded over a 6-year period, and some of them are 15 years old. I was like, okay, is it a slow day in Spain? I guess, but but like you, I found it quite humorous. So I had to say something. I was like, please tell me somebody else is following this, because I'm finding this extraordinarily humorous, especially at a time when, I think the soccer world could use a little jolt of energy.
This is like complete and utter facepalm type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
It's just like, huh? What? Why? Why? Like, I don't know what's more nuts, what he said or him for saying it. Like, how do you verbalize that stuff?
I mean, he would have known that he's in an interview, right? It's not like a sneak recording.
I'm trying to figure that out. Like, who was he talking to?
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like the proverbial, I've got this recording, a hot mic. Well, it sounds a little bit like a hot mic type of thing, but you have to know, even as the president of Real Madrid, if you're in a situation where there's a hot mic, assume you're being recorded.
Yeah.
Like, it just, what?
I would assume that you're always being recorded. Like, even if you're in your own office, I would just be PC like you wouldn't believe. Like, this day and age, you just never know who's out to get you. You never know who's about to record you. So, I would just play, CYA. Just play the PC game and all of that type of stuff. That's probably the best message for these people. But they don't care. They're making their millions.
And so tonight's lesson, children, is think before you open your mouth. Because if you do not believe that things that you said 15 years ago that made you sound idiotic at the time can come back and bite you later on, Mr. Perez kindly gave you an example. Right? So think before you open your mouth, because the moral of this story was there was no point in time where that seemed like a good idea. Like, Florentino, if I could talk to you, I would ask you kindly, at what point in time was this a good idea? At what point in time did you even think about it and say, you know what, I really feel like I need to voice this opinion and say that Iker Casillas isn't worthy Real Madrid goalkeeper? Well, dude, that didn't age well. So, all right, Leo. Well, we want to thank you for coming on and explaining this to us, because this is it's nice to start off with some levity and a welcome break from the monotony that has been, getting into that lull post-tournament time. So again, congratulations, and we'll look forward to talking to you a little bit later on as the actual preseason, the one that we actually care about, and the season gear up.
Awesome.
Enough of this.
I love that it went to Rome.
And the cup went to Rome. Let's go.
Yeah, got 2 Italians on this show now, man. You gotta curb this.
Well, we'll eject one of them.
That's true.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Leo. Good to see you, brother.
Well, at least we got this show started off on a good note, because now we got to turn to the U.S. men's national team and the Gold Cup. You know what it is? I've been thinking about how to address this. You go out and you have this fantastic meal, and the first 5 courses are really, really great, and you get a fantastic dessert to cap it off. And you go back and you say, you know what, I'm not quite ready to go home. You know what, I think I'm going to go to the bar for the nightcap. And you get up to the bar and you order your favorite drink, and it stinks. After coming off of what were 2 fantastic tournaments in Copa America and the Euros, with great storylines, compelling finals, it didn't go home, but it was a great final, and England played well for a lot of it, and they were deserving of finalists. Italy, very deserving winners of the trophy. Lionel Messi lifting his first senior trophy and ending that drought, removing that asterisk that Cristiano Ronaldo dealt with 5 years ago. And then we get the Gold Cup. And then they teased us. They went and they dumped in 6 against Martinique. And we thought, hey, you know what? Maybe they could be entertaining. And we've got probably our toughest test. Canada is not a bad team. They've already beaten us once in a competitive match recently. All right, this could be good. And the U.S. scores inside of 20 seconds. Oh, man, this could really be good. And then we got 20 seconds of excitement, followed by 95 minutes and 40 seconds of nap time. Rob, I know you're probably the biggest U.S. men's national team guy amongst all of us. Like, I love the team, but you keep a rotating roster and a player pool, right? So I'm going to go to you with this one, because I know, like, American Outlaws, all of that sort of stuff. You're with it. Yeah. Is there anything to be said about this other than I kind of like Daryl DK?
Yeah, I like him too. I think he's moved up to the depth chart safely. But man, what a snooze fest. It was fun for 20 seconds or a minute, because you get a counter celebration. And it was in a sold out crowd at Children's Mercy Park over in Kansas City. Potentially Gianluca Busio's last game at home in Kansas City before he moves on to Serie A. And man, what a freaking snooze fest. I mean, it was awful. I mean, Canada just, they withstood the attack for a little bit, and then they just controlled the game. And then they were the most dangerous team on the field, for like good, most of the second half. And that was without their best player in Alphonso Davies, who got hurt before the first match day.
And also Jonathan Davis isn't on the team.
Yeah.
So they're missing 2. They're probably their best players in, Alfonso and Jonathan. Man, I think that was what the worst part about it was. It wasn't like Canada packed it in, was defending, and the U.S. couldn't find a way through. Canada couldn't finish.
Nope. They just couldn't. And they had plenty of chances to do it. I mean, I forgot there was one good chance somewhere in the 80th minute with Buchanan from the left wing cutting into the right and he just missed it, barely missed it. And it would have been a beautiful goal. And that would have sent a shock to the system. But honestly, I think Canada can do well in this tournament. Honestly, I think they will face either Costa Rica or Jamaica, and so that'll be interesting to see. And I think they can do something. Now, what's probably going to happen is if they do advance out of the that quarterfinal, they'll probably see Mexico in the semifinal, and then they'll just get whooped. But even that, there's no guarantee. Mexico has been ever since Chucky Lozano, got hurt with which was very, very tragic over there. They just been unimpressive either, and they have a pretty decent roster. So it's almost like the Gold Cup just suffocates the talent out of anybody who participates in it. It just feels so blah, especially coming from the high of the Copa America and the Euros. You're seeing the best of the best in the game, and then we're watching Martinique, who is not even a FIFA member. So it's you
if
have
you're
to
good
love,
and you're from Martinique, you're playing for France. They're all French citizens.
They're all French citizens, and that's what they said. So like anybody who's any good and Martinique's not the only one. They're the only one, I believe, in this tournament.
Yeah, but Guadeloupe has the same
same
thing. Yeah,
and so does Curacao, who all of their best players play for the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So and they are allowed in this one tournament to compete.
Yep.
Which is great. Like, I love it that you get to see the likes of Martinique. It's the only time, and they always seem to show up and get trounced. I was happy that Haiti went out and competed, and I'm guessing this is kind of like one of those weird things because typically the Gold Cup is an odd year tournament, and Copa America and the Euros are even year tournaments, right? So they do, or no, Euros are an even year tournament. I think Copa America is trying to become an even year tournament.
That's correct. Yep. They were supposed to.
And so you don't normally get the situation. So the Gold Cup can sort of stand alone, but even when it stands alone, I've tried, guys. I've tried, gentlemen. I've tried. There feels something so insanely artificial and put on about everything about this tournament. From the fact that it's always in the United States, it's perpetually set up for Mexico and the United States to meet in the final. You can change your roster after the group stages, which you can't do in any other tournament. It's just I don't know. Rob, I don't get it. Like, I just feel like there's something so artificial, like this made for TV quality about this tournament that makes it seem just fake in my mind.
It's very Americanized. It's almost like, if you guys remember, if you guys ever watched it, the Kitchen Nightmares in the UK was very, Gordon Ramsay would teach the chefs, and like you would see like a proper teaching of how to be a chef. And then the Kitchen Nightmares moves over to the US, and then it becomes this like Jerry Springer style like show. And the Gold Cup is like this thing where honestly it shouldn't even exist. If anything, the Gold Cup should not exist. We should have a Copa America where all the Copa America teams are in it, and plus a select few from CONCACAF. That's what it should be, and it should be in
the America's Cup.
It should be in the
it's
same
called
year.
Copa America. No, I agree 100%, Rob.
I love that. I would love that. And honestly, and then you could travel it everywhere, and it would make money.
It would.
We did that. Not 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Yeah,
5 years ago.
The Centenario. It was. I thought it was fantastic.
Wonderful.
I thought it was wonderful.
And I think
I was never more interested in that tournament than I was then. Expanded 16 teams, and it was exciting and it was fun to watch.
And even if you have to do a Euro-esque thing, where, you get a spot or two reserved through the CONCACAF Nations League so that we can get some smaller nations an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally for that. Set up a system that enables maybe, a Martinique to just slip in there every once in a while.
Or like think about a Haiti Bolivia game. That'd be a good game.
That'd be fun. I definitely think though that merging the two and forming, it would just, that was a way more compelling tournament to watch, to attend, everything than the Gold Cup is.
Well, what's sad is that CONMEBOL though is just, they can barely get out of their own way on a lot of things. I mean, if you've been recently kind of tuned into what happened there, I really wasn't that interested in what CONMEBOL, kind of like what their structure was, until what was occurring with this particular Copa America and how they're moving from Argentina, and Brazil had a worst case. But they're like, yeah, screw it, we'll do it. And you're kind of like, okay, what's going on down there? And then, do a little digging and you realize that it is not well run at all. And it's amazing that they've been able to have the success that they've had at any point, considering the issues that they're having. I mean, it's safe to say that CONCACAF is probably a better run organization than CONMEBOL. They just don't have the talent that South America has. But I mean, I get the sense, Rob, that you're kind of thinking the same thing I am.
Yeah, I totally, look, because there was talks about, potentially moving the Copa America to the US if Brazil couldn't take it. And that would have been fantastic because number one, CONMEBOL would have made money because they would have fans in the stands. Number two, I think it would have been a much more exciting tournament because I think the US just has a collection of people from all over South America, and people would have flew, right? But CONMEBOL, they don't know what to do with this game. They don't make the smartest decisions. They make decisions not on logic, but on passion, on greed, on ego. Ego is a big thing in South America, and so that's why the tournament was in Brazil with no fans. It felt weird. It felt like just off, and honestly, so I like all y'all. I totally love the Copa America, the Centenario. If you read Brian Strauss's article in Sports Illustrated, he talks about how his proposed Copa America, combining the Gold Cup and the Copa America, would be. It's fantastic. It's a great idea. It should run with it because, especially in the U.S., we could watch the Euros in the early afternoons, morning, and then we got Copa America at night. It's going to be a summer of football. It'll be beautiful. And you know what? Ching ching for everybody.
Yeah.
Make the money.
That's right.
And
you warmed my heart, Rob.
And concerning the fact that there is no more Confederations Cup, having that continental tournament, which was ostensibly to give you the advantage of playing a year ahead in the World Cup stadiums in the country, is gone. So there's no discernible reason. Part of it, I think, is, CONCACAF wants to keep itself extant. CONMEBOL wants to keep itself extant. They don't want to be forced to merge together. Never underestimate the anti-American sentiment from all of Latin America to doing anything with the States.
Yeah, well, if you guys remember back in '95, I think, when US played the Copa America and ended up semifinaling. And it was, the backlash was pretty strong. US was not invited the next time or the time after that. They were like, oh, you guys came down and thought you could win a couple of games. We're not bringing you down here anymore. And
but then they invited them back. I think they invited them back in 2007.
Yes.
And Bob Bradley decided rather than take his best team, he would take a
bunch of scrubs. Yeah.
And then we were never invited back again.
Yeah, because they got embarrassed. The US looked terrible that tournament,
they looked terrible. And CONMEBOL was like, hey, we're going to give you this shot to come down here and compete in this tournament again. At least have the decency to take the tournament seriously.
Right.
And Bob Bradley said, no, I can't. And the Gold Cup is way more important to us. And went and
that was a no, you're right. That was a very idiotic move by Bob Bradley. That was a very idiotic move because in any way, I don't think anyone, I mean, look, the fact that players would rather play in something like the Africa Cup of Nations than the Gold Cup, like the Gold Cup is the bottom ass wipe international tournament. When you look at out of every confederation, the Asian Championship is better than the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is just awful. You're right, Rob. It needs to just go away. I think it's terrible. It is. And it's become.
But why are you guys all pissed off about this? You guys talking about Coach Bob Bradley? How many years ago was that? And we had the same issue. You know, it's been so long, but like this is the B team. We knew coming into this tournament it was a B team. So I don't know why you guys are all pissed off. Like you guys should have been pissed off when the rosters were announced. Now here we are into, you know.
Well, we weren't going to waste our time talking about this when the rosters were announced.
We'll talk about it. Number one. Number two, we were upset.
True.
We said it at the time that this was ridiculous. Don't sit and whine to me about the fact that, you know, what was it? 5-6 months ago, you know, I'm getting the line, we need to qualify for the Olympics. We need to qualify for the Olympics. It's important that we get tournament time and we need to get our players into the Olympics. And one of the problems we have with development is that we don't get enough tournament time. We failed to qualify for the Olympics. A tournament rolls around where you could get players tournament time and we don't send them.
Well, here's a big reason. All the clubs are back in camp, right? They're friendlies going on.
No, I think the players themselves would rather go and warm up with their clubs than play this Gold Cup.
I think you're right, Stead. I think you're right.
Yep. I would much rather be. I'd much rather.
It's more prestige.
Yeah, and I'd much rather. But even then, it's also like, what's the point? I'd much rather say my hamstrings bothering me. I need to go back to, you know, Westphalia, Rhine, wherever in Germany they happen to be playing, and get a massage there than play for the Gold Cup. I mean, it makes complete sense to me, and there's no way I would blame any player that's not an MLS-based player to say thanks but no thanks. I need some treatment. I'm gonna go back to my club.
Why is the Gold
Cup? See, but I think that's all Americans over in Europe. I don't think they really want to play for the United States. I just think they're just. I don't want to risk my club team.
I think they do for the World Cup. They'll do for World Cup qualification. I don't think they want to for a Gold Cup. Is what I'm thinking.
I think overall in general, we've seen this over the years, you know, decades. It just seems like they don't want to get hurt. Like there's more prestige of their club team. Like, hey, I don't want to risk, like you said, I don't want to risk blowing out my hammy for the Gold Cup or anything in the United States if we're not going to win championships. Like Polissa is going to win championships in Chelsea like you wouldn't believe. Is he going to do that in America? Why would he risk his career, blowing his knee out or whatever in America, barely to qualify for any kind of tournament? I don't know. If I was a player at that kind of level, I wouldn't.
Then remember, he did not have to play for the United States, right? He did not.
He could have played for Croatia, yeah.
He could have played for Croatia. He could have played for any number of clubs, right? He could have done what Leon Bailey attempted to do and say, I'm not going to declare for, you know, X number of years until, and basically make himself the better part of an international free agent. No, he didn't. He accepted the first call up. I do think the guys want to play. I also think that they were given the option to come over and play and didn't. I also think, though, that even where you're saying, well, the players opted to do it, I don't think they asked. I really honestly don't think Greg Berhalter asked. And I think part of it goes to something that I remember. The U.S. men's national team and U.S. soccer really hasn't had exactly the strongest leadership over the past, 4 years, right? After Sunil Gulati stepped down, when Carlos came in, then he had the controversy. He had to be replaced. There's kind of been this vacuum at the top, but a structure like that abhors a vacuum. Somebody has to be behind, and Berhalter.
Yeah, but we had Klinsmann, and he did as much as he can do as a professional coach. He got us to what?
I think Klinsmann's a much stronger personality than Berhalter is. I think Bruce Arenas is a much stronger personality than Berhalter is. I think, and I'm kind of worried, and maybe this is the conspiracy theorist in me. I think the head of MLS is behind the scenes, pulling a little bit of the strings, determining who goes where, what the roster call-ups are. I can't
disagree with that.
I think that he has a little bit more power right now and a little more say in roster construction than I would like. And this gave a national. eyes only attention. Remember, this game is on Fox. This game is being played on a national audience, and almost all of the players, for the most part, are MLS players, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why Daryl Dike is in this tournament. Gianluigi Busio is in this tournament and didn't play in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity to put for two things. One, put them in the shop window so maybe you can make a couple of bucks. Two, advertise the talent that we have in MLS and try and prop us up as something that we're not, which is that the steadfast belief that they have that we are a top 5 league over here, which we know that we're not. Look, Gabby Heinze just got fired from Atlanta United after 13 games.
Rob, jump back in here.
So what part? The
No, because you were finishing your thought, and then we all got riled up, and so you got the pot going pretty good, Rob.
The Gold Cup why is the Gold Cup being played now? It should be played during the Euros, because this way, like, it's a full summer, right? There's no decision making that needs to happen between club and country because only country is playing. But now countries play now, and then preseason starting. Some players potentially have Champions League qualifier rounds going on. So whoever decides that the Gold Cup needs to happen now, as opposed to the beginning of June, is a fool. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you, like, you're trying to say, like, why are you trying to compete with the club calendar? The club calendar has given you a month and a half break to have your tournament. Hence why we had the Euros, and hence why we had the Copa America there. But why did the Gold Cup all of a sudden say, nope, you know what? We need to play it in mid-July into August. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Do you think there is any mistaken fact that the Euros, Copa America ended on Saturday. The Euros ended on Sunday. And the first game for the U.S. in the Gold Cup was on Monday. Come on, let's be honest. We know why they're playing now. We know why they're playing now. Yeah. We know why, because there's no way that they could compete with the Euros and Copa America. And even more so, Rob, what TV station has the broadcast rights for Copa America?
Fox.
What TV station has the broadcast rights for the Gold Cup?
And Fox.
Yeah. So at what point is Fox going to cut their nose off to spite their face? So in that case, they have two really bad options. Now, we can also talk about the fact, why on earth is the United States playing a game at 10 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time? And I'm tired of hearing this. Well, we got to get the West Coast audience. 2/3 of the population lives in the Eastern and Central time zones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
played at 8 o'clock.
Huh?
Played at 8. Simple.
Played
8
at
o'clock.
7.
Oh, yeah, that works too.
Yeah. Why do these games need? And they stay telling me, well, we want to make sure that we get the West Coast, and we want to make sure that we don't start it during rush hour on the West Coast, because, like, as if to say, like, it is, you get more people in California eschewing the beach after work to sit and watch a soccer game than you do over here.
But also, you have to understand, it also makes no sense too, because people on the West Coast are used to this type of conundrum when it comes to watching sports. This is what they kind of like. You adapt to this when you get out there. You know that the NBA finals are going to start at 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Like, you know that, and you know I've lived out there. It's just part of the day, and to use that, I mean, that's totally just another weak excuse that they can give to fill whatever reporter asked them that question. But it's idiotic. And also, the product that the U.S. men's national team is providing is not going to keep people like me and Los, who were up at 5, to watch a U.S. soccer game that's going to be over at midnight. There's no way. So this
is why I'm here.
And that's one thing I miss about Central Time. You know, I was born and raised on Central Time, not going to East Coast, watching my Cubs, watching my Hawks, watching West Coast, the Super Bowl, whatever. It's so late at night, I can't really stay up, night. Like you and like Mike, we're all teachers. We wake up super early. Now being Central Time, the only thing sucks about it is the EPL. We're gonna start super early now, but everything else I can watch.
Yeah.
So it does. It sucks, but it's one of those things though. It's just, the time it does make a huge difference. But out in California at 5 o'clock, like you said, so be it. They're so used to almost every single national world championship, whatever time, fill in the blank with the sport, it's always on so early for them. Like you said, they're accustomed to that. But there has to be a better system where they can incorporate all of America. And if it's the sweet spot at 7 o'clock, so be it. If it's 8 o'clock, you're gonna be losing some of the East Coast.
I don't think they would run as much losing some of the East Coast, but again, and that cycles back to what we were talking about from the jump rope. There's this artificial made for TV nature about the tournament that kind of, to me, detracts from it. Now, does that mean that if and when the US make it to the finals or the semifinals that I won't go out and watch? I probably will. I may not schedule my appointment viewing around it if I can. But...
Okay, Mike, let's just clarify that. We will be at a location that's going to be showing the game. Watching is a totally different story.
Actually, let me not lie.
Like Finn McCool's right over here. You see the sign behind me. They got plenty of sports over here, so it's gonna throw a shout out right now, see what happens. But you gotta find that local place sometimes.
I'm not gonna lie. The final is on August 1st. I'll be at the Jersey Shore. So if they make
I will be in Vegas.
Yeah, I'll
be in Vegas potentially for the final. I might be at the final. I'll let you know.
Rock on. But I will be watching it from the comfort of the house on Long Beach Island. But if they make it to the semis before I leave, then maybe we can find an establishment that was showing it. But that is predicated on the fact that it's not being shown at 10 o'clock at night, because I will be doggone if I'm going to try and find, because the other thing that if you played at 10 o'clock right now, it's not even like you could stay and watch the whole entire game, because most places right now are closing before midnight. So there's that too. Enough digging on with that. Let's talk about some people who can actually play the sport, because on the flip side of this is the U.S. women's national team, who will get started presently with their Olympic competition as they seek to become, I guess, to knock down that last sort of hurdle record, that last kind of thing that stands in their way. How we talked about once upon a time, oh yeah, we all know Brazil has won more World Cups than anybody else at the time. Well, yes, still they're the only country that's won 5, but they've never won the Olympics, as if that mattered. Well, the U.S. is the only, no women's team has ever successfully held the World Cup and the Olympics, right? No women's team has ever won a World Cup and followed it by winning an Olympic gold medal. And given the nature of the tournament this year, a tournament that will not have 2 of the top 5 teams in the world because of this weird system that Europe has for qualifying only based on the top 3 the top 3 teams and how they finish in the World Cup, it means that the world's second-ranked team in Germany and the world's third-ranked women's team in France will both not be in the Olympic tournament. So, yeah, we're going to see how this roster, and they're expanded. I think they're carrying 23 women this year as opposed to the 18 that they had been able to carry in the past. It's all setting up for basically the only thing that I like from Delran, New Jersey, Carly Lloyd, to sign off on her career with a great thing. That's what I want to see.
Can I jump in really quickly though? Because this is my issue. I feel like I don't know the solution to the problem, but the problem is not necessarily women's soccer. The problem is the fact that the Olympics are a major tournament for this particular sport. It's not right. The fact that the teams that you just pointed out are not there goes to show you that the issue is the Olympics. Like, I'm going to go to a different sport completely. Let's go to wrestling, which they've systematically made less and less a part of the Olympic sport, even though it's one of the original sports. And mainly what they're doing is they're having less and less and less weight classes to accommodate the sport in some way, shape, or form. So you're eliminating a lot of potential athletes that should be there competing because you have these tweeners who don't fall in line with a particular weight class. And that example, that's the problem with this tournament. There's not enough time to actually have an effective tournament to make this gold medal.
I disagree. And
okay, let me finish my point though. Is if it's going to be an international tournament of this type of stature, I don't think you have enough teams that are available to compete that are of that level. You're going to have way more teams, and the fact that the home country is going to qualify, which that's really not that big of a deal. But I just don't feel like there are enough teams to really, really make this actually seem like a major, major, major tournament. It's because I'm going by the points that you just pointed out, which were the flaws in the European system of qualification. And like it or not, when it comes to women's soccer, the best teams are solely in Europe and in North America, solely right now.
That's a Europe problem, right?
I understand that, but where's the International Olympic Committee? It's in Europe. Where's all this based out? This is all based out of Europe.
Oceania has a qualifying tournament. Asia, qualifying tournament. Africa, qualifying tournament.
Africa only has one team going in there.
Yeah, but still, they have a qualifying tournament. South America has qualifying tournament. North America has qualifying tournament. Guess who doesn't have decided that they don't need to have qualifying tournament, which is why France and Germany aren't there, right?
Which depletes the effectiveness of this as a huge world title. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think it carries the same weight as a World Cup. It doesn't. And they're trying to make it seem like it does.
It may not qualify. I think that it deserves. It is one of the two times you can guarantee that all eyes are going to be on it. It's nice that it typically happens in consecutive years, so it keeps women's soccer in the limelight for a more extended period of time, right? Because then when it goes into an out of tournament cycle, it dies a very slow and painful death. A lot of times.
Would it be more effective to have a women's World Cup every 2 years?
If you wanted to make it so that the Olympics was not a signature tournament and then to do a women's World Cup every 2 years, that's fine. I have no problem with it. I think that the main issue that we're talking about is the fact that Europe needs to have a qualifying tournament, right? They need to have qualifying tournament. And that's not to say that even if they had a qualifying tournament, that Germany and France would have made it, right? I think it probably would have given them a better shot because, like, if you remember the World Cup, somehow France and England both ended up on the same side of the bracket with the U.S., which gave us a France-U.S. quarterfinal game, which was probably featuring the two best teams in the Women's World Cup in a matchup that occurred in the quarterfinals, right? And it was just that was that vagary of that situation. It had Europe gone to a qualifying thing, and I understand that Olympic qualification is different regionally than World Cup qualification, but Europe could organize a women's qualifying tournament easily. They don't. Go for it, G.
To me, the Olympics should represent the entire Earth, and it just seems like there's like a little splash here and a little splash there. It's hard to build that sport up if, you don't have like the smaller teams. Yeah, they might get their butts kicked, but to have the small girls in wherever part of the country saying, I want to be like her, like we have here in America when Mia Hamm was, in that whole 99 team. You have these girls now, like I looked up to Mia Hamm, I looked up at all these players, and now who are the national team? You don't really have that. If you are going to limit, you're going to kind of handcuff some of these smaller teams. Mexico is an upcoming soccer team right now, but yet they're not really a a world player, but you have these tournaments that can maybe showcase them up as an Olympics. It kind of actually it puts the soccer back, a couple of years. So to have a World Cup every 2 years, that might be a viable, solution to this. But again, to me, the Olympics should incorporate the entire world. And you look at the squads. How do you not have a France? How do you only have one country from Africa? How do you only have two from Australia? There's so many better teams out there. It's just, I'm sorry, the Oceania. There's so many good teams out there, but it just seems like they're limited. And to me, that's not the Olympics are. The World Cup, maybe, but the Olympics, nah. You have a lot of tradition in there.
Are you guys not entertained by the 2022 UEFA Women's Euros that's being hosted in England? You not want to see that? That's gonna be beautiful. I can't wait. Because number one, England gets to finally host a tournament, right? And all right, they hosted the Euros somewhat, right? We get it, but they actually will host the whole tournament here, and they haven't actually shot winning because they actually have good players. So I think the World Cup having every 2 years, I don't think it's a viable solution because I think it will run up to the Euros for the women's squads. Okay, but I will tell you that I think the Olympics tournament should have another group because at the current way to do things, they have about a few third place finishers moving up into the next round. But you could eliminate that and just have add 4 more teams, and then you have another group, and then the top 2 of that group make it, and there you go. So I would prefer it that way instead. At least try that out. But going back to Mike's point, honestly, you're right. There should be a qualifying tournament for UEFA women's teams. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge, right? You could select a bunch that have qualified based on ranking or whatever. But I think it's only fair in this case because not having France, who's full of PSG and Lyon players, not having Germany, who's full of Bayern and Wolfsburg players, feels off. It's not going to be a tournament full of talent. I felt in the last Women's World Cup, there was a ton of talent on the field. We just won't get it here. And not to mention also we have less players. There's third place finishers that are going to move up as well. So I think the quality is not going to be there. I think the World Cup is still the creme de la creme when it comes to the women's international game.
I think the one thing will say about the Women's World Cup or the Women's Olympic tournament, as opposed to the World Cup, is that we have seen at least more recently that the U.S. women have not always fared as well, right? Remember, I think it's like 1 gold medal out of the last. It's got to be 1 out of the last 3, because they didn't qualify for the medal rounds in Rio, and I think in Beijing in 8 or whatever it was. Didn't they lost to Japan in the gold medal game before they came back and won the Women's World Cup? So they've. This is a tournament where we've actually seen at times teams figure out a way to neutralize the U.S. women like we haven't seen in the World Cup. Now, we are also at a point where the U.S. women's national team, and Rob, I think I was saying this to you when you pointed out that the U.S. women are in the group of death, potentially with Sweden, who beat them in the last Olympics, New Zealand and Australia all in their group, but then still feeling like there's so much separation in between the U.S. and presumably Australia, who you would think would be the second best team, although Sweden can be dangerous at times and did beat Germany in the World Cup, and that's why they're there in the first place. Mm-hmm. But we would still expect the U.S., who probably only have to win 1 game in the group stage, to be a lucky third place team. What do you think of this, Rob?
The U.S. should have an easy time in their group. I mean, it's far. This could be actually. Let me rephrase. I think they'll win their group, and it'll probably be the hardest competition they play. Because Sweden They still have a little bit of the remnants of what happened back in Brazil. Australia has a lot of players that have been, they're dynamite. New Zealand as well. Um, but I think it's gonna be honestly a fight for the second place in this group. I think it's Australia for the taking, and as far as Sweden and New Zealand goes, who knows? It's a toss up, man. Just throw up a coin like Harvey Two Face and see what happens. But after that, I mean, looking at Team GB, aka Great Britain, there's no England here. It's Great Britain for y'all folks. It's just full of like players who play in the women's league over there in England. There's top talent everywhere, and they are dangerous. They're so dangerous here, and I expect them to potentially make the final. I think they're that good, and it'll be fun. And I hope it's the final, which is USA England. I hope it works out that way. Um, but that's what I see. I think this is the USA's tournament to lose. They have a squad that their bench could compete for bronze. That's how good they are. But we shall see. That's why they play the games, right?
I was hoping that possibly London Sean would be on tonight so I could kind of make fun of him. One of the reasons why, for this fact, one of the things that I love is that Team GB is competing. They didn't in the last games, right? In the Rio games, they didn't compete because they don't typically field a soccer team as Team Great Britain unless they're forced to, as they were in the Olympics, in the London games, where they were told, like, you have to enter a team. But part of the reason, so if they had not competed, that spot that they would have forfeited would have gone to France. So in addition to giving it, as they should, rightfully so, in between Scotland and England, both teams qualified for the last Women's World Cup, and both teams acquitted themselves nicely while they were there. But it has the added benefit of just giving that one last stab to the French and saying, like, yeah, oh, yeah, by the way, no, you don't get to go because we're actually going to compete this time. I'm wondering, like, how much that, because, like, if Phil Neville's not coaching the team, it is a lot of England players. They do have a handful of Scottish women on their team, and I think that's what's making them particularly dangerous, is because you've got two. It's like Voltron, separate. We separate. We finished third and out, but together we form Team GB. So I am, and if it's not Team Great Britain, I'd really like to see Canada, because I think the Canadians women's team is a little bit underrated and may have gotten a little bit short shrift in the last World Cup because of who they had to play and when, and FIFA rankings, which lowered their overall pot so that they were in facing some stiffer competition. But that's a team that, they've given the U.S. women at times a run for their money. It's a good, solid team. Most of their players played at college in the U.S. Most of their players play here domestically. So, let's call it like U.S. light. So we will be looking forward to that. All right, gentlemen. It's been fun.
Yeah, we pulled a lot out this hour. We did. That's pretty good. Kind of a slow week. I'm glad we got to show it.
Good times. Yes. Good times.
Yes, we will be back next week as we struggle to figure out what to talk about. Although, you know what next week may be about? We'll have to organize this because I just thought about this. Maybe amongst our U.S. Men's national team conversations and their ultimate early demise, we can talk about the new kits that have been released, because most of them have come out.
It's true. We have to do our annual kit show. We do.
We do have to do that, and that that might be the week to do it, to talk about the new kits and which ones we like.
Got to get Andy the Hammer on. Check out because West Ham's got a new kit. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, and
Badass. Yeah.
Stead, you're gonna have to work on your display skills because we're gonna need to be able to show pictures of them.
I can't wait to show you guys Bayern's third kit, which is we call it the Coors Light kit.
All right, cool.
Can't wait. I can't wait to talk about this. This is amazing.
The kid show will get all the guys back on. We'll have the whole
Heck yeah.
screen lit up.
Hell yeah.
Oh, well, we will put together a slideshow and like G and I and Los did, and we will just laugh and laugh and laugh about them.
Or like, we give them like Rob's coaching carousel in Germany too. That would be good.
Yes. Yes.
That flow chart.
Yeah,
Yes.
the flow chart. Yeah.
we can see where, you know, whose designs have been just stolen, who mailed it in. Because I will tell you, here's a good tease for this. There are some bad ones out there. There's some really, really, really bad stuff floating around. Not like, oh man, that's ugly, but I think I'm going to get it. Like, no, that's just, why would you put that on the human body? As I said at the top with Fiorentino Perez,
I feel the same way if I went to Delran High School. I have to wear their kit.
I love how it throws on that face too. That's perfect. I can't wait to put that on the YouTubes.
The best part about it was their colors, as I recall growing up, were brown and yellow.
Awful.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, fellas.
Well, gentlemen, it has been fun. I want to thank Leo, the Italian, for coming on and breaking down, if there could be any breakdown, to what the rumors, the leaks out of Real Madrid. Coach G and the lovely folks at Finn McCool's in the beautiful Big Easy for coming on and joining us. And Bayern Robber, and now U.S. Women's National Team Rob, for coming on and talking a little bit of U.S. soccer. And as always, my trusty compatriot, producer Stead, for keeping the trains running on time. Gentlemen, we did all right this week. We'll try and do better next week. For the many guys, I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. Have a great week.